My name is Janaya Hall. As a person growing up in Chicago, the North Lawndale area, I always wondered why African Americans were arrested disproportionately to whites. As I got older, I became more concerned with the numbers of people arrested for petty crime. I began thinking, is there a benefit to mass incarceration?
I think definitely the country has an issue in how we deal with civilians in the nation who break the law, and then how we have methods established for alternative forms of punishment besides incarceration. I definitely think that there's probably too many people who are going to jail, particularly for crimes that don't necessarily need to have someone locked up. So I definitely think it's an issue the country needs to review, and then consider alternative forms of justice, what they call restorative justice, as an alternative to mass incarceration.
Mass incarceration, it's a system that is broken and needs to be fixed, hopefully by, if not me, but the youth and the people who are in Congress and everybody else who's involved in the legal system, because there is a systematic failure in what's going on in our system, and we need people out there trying to change it.
It is the adults now taking on their responsibility of being leaders, right? And reaching back to these youth and saying, hey, there is another route to this. Because it's cool now, but the nerd and the science kid and the kid with the too short, pants on that everyone laughs at, that's the guy you see successful later in life.
Not one of these intellects and experts agree with me and think something needs to be done.
Well, what people don't talk about is incarceration is a big industry. So when you think about how much money has to get paid to a courtroom, the last time I was in court, I counted 12 people between lawyers and stenographers, judges and police, 12 people. And you get sent to jail. Lots of people have to work there. I think incarceration is an industry.
The drug pays for a lot of things. Drug incarceration, drug arrest, that pays for criminal investigators, probation officers, judges, lawyers. You're paying for a whole legal system, not just off of those crimes, don't get me wrong, but the volume of crimes that constitute, marijuana, drug charges, and many other drug charges, because it starts somewhere. You have theft, you have many things, but weed or marijuana leads to a lot of not just weed. You have a lot of different other type of crimes that are associated with marijuana.
You can understand that from a law enforcement perspective, right? So drugs in particular, it's not just about the selling and the buying of drugs that's the problem. The issue with drugs is that they also lead to other criminal activity. And so law enforcement, in trying to deal with the drug issue, is also trying to deal with the sister activities that go along with drug dealing. So that involves gangs, right? That involves crimes such as robbery, theft, things that people do when they're on drugs, drunk driving, for example, intoxicated driving, domestic crimes that are committed when someone's high on drugs, for example. So all these things law enforcement has to factor in as to why they focus on drug crimes in particular. It's not just the fact that someone's doing heroin and it's illegal. It's the fact that when someone does heroin, they've bought it from somebody who may be in a street gang. That street gang may have committed gang-related activities in order to fund their operations. And so this is kind of the spider web of activities that law enforcement has to be concerned with. And that's why they focus on drugs so much. It's because it's not just an isolated issue of I'm selling to you, it's also because everything else that goes with it.
Fine. Drugs is a gateway to other crimes, but it seems that drug crime affects black communities more than white communities. After all, though, blacks are 12% of the population, and they make up 38.2% of the prison. How?
So I had talked to a lot of officers, and one of the examples that they use, I don't know if they coined it or if they gathered from another one of their officer buddies, but they go into certain neighborhoods knowing that those people are not educated enough or well equipped to understand the law on what is right and what is wrong. So they highly concentrate that area with police involvement because they're able to pick on people almost who are not aware of the crime that they could be possibly doing, or are feeling anxious, they run away and things like that. So at the end of the day, I hate to say it, it's about money. So when you have a justice system working on the concept of we have to keep these people paid, and not just the police officers, again, it goes back to the judges, the lawyers, the probation officers, the parole officers. You got to keep that money coming in from somewhere. So you hit the areas where you know that you can get crime, at least a mass amount of it. So they target, or at least I feel that they target certain areas because they can get a lot of people. So that involves going into neighborhoods that are, historically underprivileged, poor, and have a lot of issues with drugs and different other type of crimes. So they saturate those areas with police, and in doing that, you will get, it's like, fishing. You put a big net out there in an area where you can get a lot of fish, you're pulling up something. If you throw a net out in a place where it's not a lot of fish, you're not gonna get anything.
I've realized this, it takes one person to completely change the route that someone goes down. You could have 30 people talk to the same person, but it could be the one thing that one person said that makes them a better person. So it takes leaders and people being able to sustain themselves and be leaders, right? And accept that responsibility to just change one person.